This is my 2015 F6B Deluxe. It's got a chopped pack on it right now that I bought off Amazon, but I'm going to take the seat off of it and try to modify the seat. Seen a lot of conversation online about making modifications to seats, having custom seats made. I'm just going to try it myself. Saw a video of a guy, Atomic Autos. He's a bit more of a pro, knows what he's doing. I don't really have a clue, but what he showed, I figured I could do that. I'm going to give it a try. I lower the seat by about 2 inches, so if you want to try it, good luck.
Okay, seat's off the bike, and one thing you can immediately tell is that mine is probably dirtier than the one in the Atomic Auto video. But he kind of glosses over real quickly this bar right here that holds the seat onto the bike. It's just two 10mm screws that are in there, but you'll notice he does he marks it so that you put it back right. It's a good idea to do that. If not, just remember that this little dot right here, this little hole in the bar, faces backward. Okay, the thing bends, well, in this case it's up, but it would actually bend down when it's sitting on the bike. And it does look like it's got some red Loctite on those bolts, so something actually, as I finally took the thing off, that little dot, it's got a molded piece of plastic that it sits on, so really not too hard to figure out. So next thing is to remove all these staples all the way around. He shows that in his video, so I'm not going to spend time showing it to you. You can figure that thing out. But what I will come back and do is once I figure these little snaps or whatever these bars are, the string that holds the seat tight is connected here. So I'm gonna have to take some time to figure that thing out, and once I do, I'll come back and show that to you in more detail. I said I wasn't going to show you taking the staples out of this thing, but I kind of ran across the thing. The Atomic Auto guy kind of spends a lot of time talking about how to take these staples out, and he says, you know, do it this way. He's got a special little tool. I'm using a screwdriver and then pulling them out with a pair of pliers. I suppose you could use some wire cutters or needle nose, but anyway, I'm doing it this way against what he told me to, because it's my seat, but I've slipped a couple of times and it happened right in a row. So I just want to kind of show you what happens as you take the thing out. If you're pushing against it, then you tear toward the inside. It hasn't happened to me very often, 2 or 3 times, because I just got stupid and got a little aggressive. But if I were doing that coming this way and I slipped, you know, I would tear out here, and I need this part of the material. Back here, I don't need quite as bad. I don't want to tear it, but I don't need it quite as bad. So that's why I'm working, and it's different than what the other guys. Okay, all the staples are out, and I only made about 2 tears, maybe 3. And so this is what it looks like when you take the thing off. And I remember I still have those strings that I've got to take out, so I just kind of wanted to see what this is going to look like. Now those strings are connected down in here. I can feel one there, and it looks like there's another one over here. So I'm going to play around with this a little bit, and but the foam itself looks like it's in good shape. A little discoloration here. I don't know if that's because of my butt or what, but there is that vapor barrier on here, and I haven't decided whether I'm going to leave that on or get some new, or I might just leave it off. I don't know. I don't really leave this thing outside very often, but I don't know. Flip it back over and we'll see what we got. Okay, before I get into the to these things here, I just want to kind of show these. You've probably already seen them. If you've taken your seat off, you've probably run into this before, but these are the spacers that hold the hand guard on the bolt. Comes through right here. A couple of them have come out on their own. That one looks like it's going to stay in now, but the others, anyway, this one came out, was actually sitting on the bike, and I just noticed it. So it's got a kind of a recessed or a cutaway edge here that goes against the seat. Okay, so it should go like that, and then you just push it in. It just stays in with tension. So that's how it looks. There's 4 of them. All right, not too complicated. Here I've already got one off. So what you're going to do is maybe put a screwdriver in here. You're going to pry on this just a little bit, okay, just to kind of get it loosened up. There you go. And now it's pulling against the foam, okay. The expansion of the foam inside is what's keeping tension on it. Now what I did was I pulled this out and got it going sideways. And instead of trying to work it this way, because it's got a little dip to it, right, that holds it in there, I flipped the thing over and then was able to kind of pull it through and out, and boom, there it is. I probably didn't do that very well on camera, sorry about that, but I flipped the thing over and that's what allowed it to come out. So now you just got 2 loops of string there. Okay, surprise, surprise, boys and girls, there's actually 4 of them. So these are the 2 that I took off, and then there's 2 out here, and I didn't see that in the Atomic Auto video. I thought he just had the 2 in the middle. So give me just a second and I'm going to take these. I'm going to maybe get this on camera a little better for you. This one's not quite as easily to get to because it's got a little angled part of the seat that it's sitting on. But see, now I got it sideways. I'm going to turn the thing over while it's still looped, and then it just comes out. Once you get the those snaps off there, now you can see what they look like. Really not very sophisticated. How I'm going to get that back through there, haven't figured it out yet. I'm just thinking about it. I got some ideas. We'll see what happens. So I've got 30,000 miles on this seat, and you know, obviously I've ridden long enough to know kind of where my pressure points are. Watching Atomic Auto guy, kind of got the idea for maybe how to carve this up a little bit. I'm probably going to do it just a little bit different. He did do some build up here. I'm not so sure I want this to come up. I don't know that I want to do that yet. I might, but I did kind of cut out around a drawing right along here. There's a seam, a line where the seam on the seat cover comes down, and I kind of follow that a little bit. Anyway, that will cut out, and I'm going to slope this back, drop this down a little bit. I put this dotted line in because that's kind of where I want to start. I don't want to do too much for fear I get in trouble too quickly. And if I like how that looks, then I may just try to blend it up to about this line right here. So I'm going to bring it up, loop it across the center of it, you know, the horn, if you will. I'm also going to cut a little bit because when I'm riding with my highway pegs, it kind of hurts the inside of my thighs a little bit. So I'm going to carve this a little bit, not down to the pan, but just kind of take some of that meat, that foam out of there. There's quite a bit of foam in here. So I do have some of this foam, this higher density foam that I could put back in if I have to. And then my thoughts are I'll probably come back with a headliner material, real thin foam, just to make sure that all the bumps are kind of evened out as I put it back. So I just wanted to show you. So I actually marked it first on the other side. This is the cleaner side because I did it second and I figured out what I wanted. But this is what my first attempt looks like. You can see, you know, it's kind of got my scribbles and scratch marks on it. But then as you look at them together, you know, actually this looks like it's probably a little off here, but I'll be able to guide off of that and kind of carve it a little better when I get the knife on it. Literally is from the 70s. An electric knife. He had some sort of a pneumatic knife. It was probably a snap-on tool. Wouldn't recommend you go and do that. You could do this with a regular bread knife. I've seen other videos where guys use little pneumatic Harbor Freight grinders with little sanding discs on it, and I'll probably break that out for some fine tuning. But for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some bolt cuts. And you can see it didn't start that easily. My knife's not that sharp, but didn't start that easy. You kind of pinch on it, give it some tension, and then you can start cutting on it. I'm going to carve this out, kind of not quite up to these lines, and see where that leaves me. I'll show you where I'm at in a minute.
So I've made some quick cuts here, one on the back and then down around the side, trying to follow that line at the bottom. Anytime you're going to do one side, I recommend you try to do the other side just to keep it balanced. And you can see I'm just starting to carve it out a little bit more, a little at a time, making my way halfway up that back. You can start to see that the pan is back there, and that's where we're going to tie those things off, those strings here in a little bit.
Okay, really I got kind of the rough end cuts out. The knife's probably had it. It's got a two blade system, and it's really kind of had it. I think I'm done with that, but I think I made it anyway. But you know, just looking at it from the top, it's there. It's still got some uneven side places where you really want to kind of knock that down. Like I said, I've seen videos where guys use little pneumatic grinders. Another thing that they use is a little cheese grater. So I'm going to give that a try. Just try to smooth this out and we'll see what it looks like.
So I've tried using the cheese grater on this side closest to us. You can see what it looks like from the front. The left side has been graded. The other side still needs work.
Okay, actually I think I'm pretty done with the carving. I know I said I was going to cut these pieces out here, and I might still go ahead and kind of chop that just a little bit. But as the cheese grater was dragging across here, I dragged these make these big rips here, and so kind of stopping. There's one here. I've got one here. Seemed like there was one maybe up here on the back somewhere. I don't know. I think I can use some contact cement and nut that down, tack that down, and then I'm going to come back with a very thin layer of headliner foam and just kind of cut that out, and you know, have it run back here, have it run down here, just to cover up any bumps and kind of smooth those out a little bit. So I decided to add some softer foam to this back piece here. I may come to regret it. Like, why'd you chop foam out just to put foam back? Well, this is a different density. It's a lot softer. So should I add some cushion to the back and still let this go, you know, more upright? So how am I applying this? This was one whole piece. It was actually a scrap piece that I had on another project, and it just happened to fit in there perfectly. And at first I thought, well, maybe I just want to do it right here. And then I decided, no, I'll use the ends. And so this is already glued down. These ends are not. So this is what I'm going to do. And all I'll do is just apply Gorilla Glue, spray glue. Got this for about 12 bucks at Home Depot. Spray it here, I'll spray it there. It's okay if you get a little overspray, because we're going to come back with a different material here in a little bit. I'll show you that. But I'm going to glue this up and we'll see what it looks like. Really pretty simple. Just spray both sides, stick it in place. Okay, you're going to give it a little while. Now, with this spray adhesive, you can take that back off if you needed to and reposition it. But just leave it on there, and it'll adhere to the seat real well, to the seat. This piece is on there really good because I used a liquid brush on rubber cement, and I ran out of that stuff. So the spray on, I've used it before and it works really well. You'll also notice that I did cut the hard edges off, so kind of rounded this. It's not perfect. I might come back and work on it a little bit more so I don't get anything bound up when I actually am sitting on it. But what I'm going to do at this point, is I'm going to come back with this material, which is a very thin foam. Well, I call it headliner material, and I think that's what it's sold for. It's the liner that goes up in cars. You can probably find it at most automotive stores or something. This is a scrap piece that I had on, on another project, and that's the idea. Is I'm just going to try to cut this to fit, and get it to lay down so I have a nice smooth look. It is adding some girth, some weight back to it that I was cutting out, but it's thin enough that I don't think it'll matter, and it kind of evens out some of those bumps where the maybe I didn't get it sculpted very well, or maybe the foam doesn't come together very well. So I'm going to put that together and show you what that looks like once I get all those pieces cut out. Before I do the headliner material, I got kind of a crazy idea here. I did have this long kind of straight piece that I cut off. This is a scrap, probably from somewhere down here or something, and I'm going to try to get that to glue right here, just hopefully give me a little cleaner edge. I'm not really trying to build this up any higher, but as I was looking at that scrap piece, hey, that kind of sits down kind of nice here, and I think I might be able to make something. I may have to trim it a little bit, but we'll see how that looks. I may end up hating it. I may end up regretting that I'm doing this, but it seems like that's a good fit. I'm going to see it. Check it out. Okay, it's definitely not a pro job, but that I think that piece on there, I'm going to like that on there. It won't give it this little slope look. It's going to give it a little bit more of a contour. It does kind of bring that back up a little bit more, but This is not the same as what it was when I started cutting on it. This is a much softer material here. I took some of that slope out and did bring it forward a little bit, so it'll give me a little bit more backrest. I don't really want to bring it up too much higher, but I'm thinking that it needs to come up. When I dry fit, I just put the seat cover back on it. There was a lot of space in here, so that'll help take some of that out. All right, so now I'm ready to do this headliner material. I'm just going to fit it in here. I'm going to start with this back piece here, and then I'm going to do the seat, okay, so that they'll come together. And then I'll do this top piece back here, the passenger pillion, so that it kind of rolls over the top of the driver's backrest. And that way, as you're sitting on it, it's constantly forcing it in the direction you want it to go. You don't want these seams to start coming apart underneath the seat cover. Now they shouldn't, but you don't want to give them that opportunity. So I'll just lay this down here, kind of test fit it in there, and I'm going to make a little mark at the top, give myself plenty of extra room, and now I'm just going to cut that so that I can get more specific, more precise. Some of these steps are probably just too basic for what you guys are doing, but so I cut this out, you know, kind of rough fit it in here, got it sitting where I want it, where I like that, and then I use my marker from the inside and just kind of scribe it, so I'm going to cut that out, and it should fit there just real nice. So now I have that first piece on, sprayed glue on both sides, and put it down there. I may still come back and do some more trimming on it, but I will just tell you before you start trimming on this, if the glue is even a little damp, you want to wait and be careful you're not using, you know, your really good pair of scissors, because it'll gum them. But you can see this does look a little smoother. Yeah, there's a few bumps in there, but I think once I get the seat cover on there, that'll come out. So next thing I'm going to do is do this, probably up to the pillion. I'll probably do it right up to that line, because that's there's a different material on my bike that goes right here, and then that would be a nice little line. This line should, the seat cover should still fit the same right to here, because I haven't made any changes to this part. So I'm just going to do the seat cover, the headliner material right up to that line, and get it to come back here. It may not come all the way down here, and that's fine, but if I can get it to at least down here. I don't really want to add any more width here, because that's where my inside of my thigh hits. So I might just try to carve this out and just let it hang down here. We'll see what it looks like once I get it on there. I changed my mind on the pillion. You see I got the seat on here, goes right up to that horn line. Another thing you could do is to make these symmetrical, fold them in half, do one side, and then you cut it while it's folded in half, and then you get a symmetrical side. I didn't do that, and so there are some things that are unusual about it, but since I hand ground this, it's not entirely symmetrical. I think it's going to be great for what I'm wanting to do with it, but and then you notice I didn't include, I cut this piece out here so that it didn't interfere with my inner thigh. So I'm not going to go with the full pillion wrap using this headliner material. I figured that would take up too much space. I didn't want to run the risk that I wasn't going to get seat cover back on here, because I didn't make any change here. So we're just going to leave that. I usually don't have passengers that often anyway, and if I did, then we could just add something later. But I wanted to kind of talk about this before I cut it out. So the idea is that this is going to lay down. Sorry about the camera work here. This is going to lay down on top of it. Again, as you sit down, your back comes in contact with it, then it's always forcing this in the direction you want it to go, rather than if this was back here, then it would start rolling this other piece down, possibly, and I don't want to run the risk of that. Think of how rain falls. So anyway, I'm going to go from this point, and I'm going to try to curve it. So I'm going to kind of notch this out so that this will be able to make a curve and allow that to fold down. And then my line follows the same line that the seam of the seat, where it meets the pillion, is going to meet. So if that seam is even close to that when I put it back on there, then any raised area created by this material here should be hidden. I mean, that's the idea. So I dry fit this a little while ago, and it is going to be approximately in that spot, I think. So anyway, well, if I don't like it, I'll just rip it off there and do it again. Okay, there it is. It's all covered. I've got some overspray on here, and that's fine. I'm just going to let it dry, but you can see what that last piece looked like. You know, as it comes up here, goes around, follows that line. I got this notched out so that I can make this corner. And then as I'm folding the thing a little bit, got a couple other little bunches here, and you just gather those up, pinch them real tight with that glue, and then just cut them off from inside to out, and that'll, I don't think you'll even notice that once the seat cover gets on there. Another one right here in the middle, I might play with that and try to, sorry, the camera work again, try to get that out of here. If I play with that, I think I can probably do it. But you know, actually I'm kind of pleased with the way that's looking so far. Now I'm going to wrap it with plastic. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that just to make the cover slide easier and start putting the cover back on. So I did decide to wrap this thing, and I didn't use cellophane. I felt that was too thin. This is actually shopping bag material, big Kohl's shopping bag, just one bag. I cut it in half, and it's I put it on the seat part first, and then fold it down over the pinion again so that water will drain. I do have it kind of tacked on here with some tape, and that's just to keep it in place, keep it from blowing around. I'm going to take that off as I get there and trim it up, so all this extra won't be here when I'm done. But unfortunately, I'm just going to leave it on there right now because I need to reposition it. So now I need to figure out how to put the seat on there, and the first thing is come up with an idea how to run those strings down through here and tie them off on the back side. So been thinking about that, and we'll see what I come up with. All right, success getting this first tab in there. I'm going to kind of walk you through what I did. I did have a special tool. This is called an upholstery needle. So it's about 8 inches long or so, and I recommend you get one of these. I started thinking that I was going to do it with just a regular needle. This is a leather needle, and I thought, well, maybe you could just do it with a regular sewing needle, and I still think you could. But it's just so much easier to have all this extra room to work with. You know, the longer tool. It's kind of hard pushing it through there to find the holes. I was using the other needle to push it from the other side, and then I could feel through there through my foam, get an idea where it's at, zero in on it, and then push it in. It's not down, it's more to the back. You can take a look at where those tabs are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this piece of string. This is just some waxed string that I had laying around. I'm going to tie this off to this, and then I'm going to try to push it through. I won't be able to video it, but I'll take a couple of quick photos and you can kind of see what it looks like. All right, I got it through the hole, and if you pull on it hard enough, you're going to get that to come through there, but you really got to tug on it. And I'm trying to tug on it here while you got to really tug on this thing. There it is. It can stand that pressure. Now, it is a good sign though, because now I can put that little clip on there. You can see I already got it on this other one. It's not easy to do. You got to pull on this, leave it on the needle so you can get some grip on it, and then just work that piece through there. It can be done, but it's definitely difficult. So like I said, it's possible. It's not easy. Couple little tips. First of all, when you're pulling on this needle, if you're pulling toward you, be very careful. You're not trying to pull that sharp end into your chest. I just about learned that the hard way. I wouldn't even try to untie this. I'm just going to snip it right here. Okay, and then I didn't come off. Anyway, I want to show you this other thing. So when you're doing this, when you're pulling that through there, the reason the string didn't pop through all the way for me on that first one was that this little metal catch right here was all the way up here, and that was difficult to pull through the foam. So pull these things, they appear to move inside this little sleeve here. Pull those things so that they're up out of the way, and then you're just pulling this string through there. Okay, so I've got the two middle ones done. I am going to look and see what these outside ones look like, and I have an idea if they don't snug up as well as the others. I was really pleased with how well these snugged up, so we'll see how these longer ones do. All right, so now it's going on. Actually, before I ran those strings through here, I kind of tacked it down on the horn up here. But now I'm just working it around, throwing some tacks in there, using my heat gun. Guy in Atomic Autos does a really good job showing you how to do this, probably better than me. So I'm not gonna spend much time on that. I do recommend you use a better staple gun. I've just got a little hand staple gun, and it's not really going in there very deep, and I can't nail these down, so I'm a little worried about that. But anyhow, so I got the seat down, seat's on, and I'm gonna start working on this backrest a little bit. I'm sure I'm oversimplifying some of this stuff for you guys, but I pulled these bolts out because these holes, side holes here, have to line up perfectly, or have to line up well. So you got to be able to get that through there. So what I'm gonna do is I'll just punch a hole through that plastic that's still there, right? And notice I'm just leaving this tape on there. It doesn't seem to hurt anything, it keeps everything in place. But using my heat gun, I'll line this up and then just leave it there so it'll stay, and then I can tack it down with staples. So I pulled both of these bolts out, and I'm just going to throw them in there. Seat's back on, and I did a little riding on it, so looks like I got a little spot right here. So anyway, you know, there aren't too many wrinkles in it. I just went on about a 5-mile ride. You can see there are some wrinkles up here. It's a bit of a low spot. And then around where those ropes, the strings catch in there. You know, it's not meant to be perfect. I wish it would look a little bit better. You know, if you don't like that, I think you could probably put in another layer of that headliner, or you could put in that 1-inch soft foam will take some of that out. A couple other things I would suggest that, you know, tack it down here at the horn first. With staples, just get it tacked down, then run your strings like we showed, and then the other thing I would do is, next thing I'd do is come back and run it up underneath the back here, and that's because you've got 3 points that are going to be affected. The horn's got to stay where it's at, the strings, they have to go there, and then the only other place you're going to maybe run out of material is in the back, because as you change this in here, this may shorten up. And it seemed to. I really had to pull on this pretty good. So then once you got it tacked here, because you're removing material down low, you should have plenty of room on the sides to be able to pull that. So my observation on riding it was you sit lower, seems a little bit more comfortable. This is a little bit straighter back. Still feeling a little pressure here on the sides, but sit on the highway pegs a lot better. And hey, for 20-25 bucks, pretty good deal. If I had to do it again, I would probably taper this piece of foam down, and you see where the blue marks are. I'd probably taper that from the 1-inch down to where it met the more high density of the original foam, and just make that more of a slanted taper. Do the same thing at the bottom so that it tapers from the 1-inch down to the harder foam of the original seat. I think that allowed me to sit in the pocket a little bit better. The blue areas would help take a little bit of the pressure off of my back. I'm not going to take seat cover off and do it now, but I might later. Just a quick rundown of all the tools that I used. So you probably don't have an electric knife. This is like one from the 70s, and that's what I've used to cut foam in the past. A good, bread knife would probably work. I'm sure there are more dedicated things out there on the market. I use a cheese grater to just do a little shaping. This one, it would probably be better if you had different, holes, different size holes. Maybe one of those really, old-fashioned square ones would probably be even better to do that. But that just helps you shape the foam a little bit. You can use an air grinder, die grinder to be able to sand it if you want. This would be well worth the investment. It's an upholster's needle, about 8 inches long. It's pretty sharp. It would definitely go into you if you pull it towards yourself. Be careful of that. And then I just have some string. This is some wax string that I had laying around. Of course, you're going to need a pair of scissors for a lot of trimming. Use the heat gun to be able to pull the seat cover tight. You want a good staple gun. This, I wouldn't necessarily say this is a good one. I've had this one for a couple of years now, and it's frustrating. I started when I was putting it back on. I was tacking it down with this thing, but I just couldn't get it deep enough that the staple would stay in there. So I use this one again, and it jams up a lot. I've oiled it and taken it apart and tried fixing it, but you know, I was just slow and steady, and it worked for me pretty well. Some Arrow T50 staples. These are 1/4-inch staples. I wouldn't go any longer than that, for fear that I'd punch through the plastic, and then you've got a problem coming out the backside. And of course, no project is complete without some gray duct tape. That was just to kind of hold down the plastic. Then my materials list, you know, some 1-inch, very low density foam, and you know, I talk about this stuff a lot in the video. This is that headliner. It's about a 1/4-inch thick. It's got kind of a fabric side on one side and a foam side on the other. You know, I got this at a special store we have here in town that has aircraft surplus. You could probably get this through an auto parts place or something similar, maybe even at a fabric store. I was wearing some gloves when I was painting, or when I was spraying the adhesive on there, because the overspray kind of gets messy, and didn't really want to mess with that. And you know, that was really about it. So all told, probably 2 hours to do the project, you know, but you know, considering that it probably would have cost a couple $100 at least to have somebody do that, and I probably did it here. I think I spent $12 on a can of glue, everything else I had on hand. So good luck to you. You can definitely do this, and if you don't like it, then strip it all off and you know, send it in.